topic today is President Trump's economic policies. And what's the problem here? Well, the problem is that Trump's fiscal policies have been a controversial topic for many. This is kind of referred to as his Trumponomics. This includes tax deductions, foreign policy, and government spending. So what we're looking at is basically the differentiation between lower unemployment and discouraged trade here, and which is better. Here's some pros of his policy that's been implemented, and this includes the tax reform, which it lowers income tax rates for individuals and businesses. This generates more income, so basically you're getting more pocket money. It also allows more jobs to be created in America, lowering unemployment and encouraging expansion. His territorial tax system means that no taxes on the money have been made by foreign businesses, and this encourages new firms to enter the U.S. market. This is the Tax Reduction and Employment Act in 2017 under the Trump presidency. It was signed and passed through Congress, and what it does is it basically lowers the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, and the 20% reductions for the first $315,000 of joint income for small businesses. This basically allows businesses and individuals to gain, Yeah. All right. This allows individuals and businesses to have better income and be able to hire more workers for this reason. And my sources here were taken from 1040 Abroad. The national unemployment rate under President Trump dropped from 4.7 to 3.7 in December 2018. This was a source taken from factcheck.org, which is looked at Trump's numbers from his election in office to January 2019. And this is because the statistics were done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now here's some cons of his policies. Government spending, well, definitely increase in national debt. So we have a lot of money just being spent on military and domestic spendings, which can include, creating jobs and things like that. So this means that less government revenue from taxes, which equals more debt for us in our country. Also the trade tariff. This is a huge topic and very controversial for a lot of people from the left and the right side, is that President Trump takes a more protectionist approach, which means that he's placing higher tariffs on imported goods. And this includes steel and metal and things of such for self-defense in our country against China, for instance, which we'll talk about later. What this does is he's trying to eliminate foreign producer competition to protect his domestic producers. But in the end, it just doesn't work out that way, because we'll see that, placing higher tariffs will eventually hurt domestic consumers. So our consumers are essentially going to pay the cost more, and this means that we'll have a surplus due to our supply greater than demand, which can equal inflation in our economy. Which leads me to my next point, that I mentioned the trade war, right, and increased tariffs. This is the trade war with China that Trump has created. Essentially, his tariffs on Chinese imports have started a trade war with China, and China responded to this by creating tariffs of their own against our U.S. exports and their imports from us. So this isn't really good, because the global economy can be hurt from this. It causes inflation and decreases global trade by discouraging countries like the U.S. and China to trade with each other, and China can essentially trade with another nation such as Russia. And so this can lead to both economies getting hurt in the long run. Here's the effect. I took some statistics and graph and drawings just from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and factcheck.org again, representing Trump's numbers in January 2019. Just some of the effects here is we look at the United States GDP growth rate. This is just numbers here. We see that GDP has growth in a positive direction. but it does fluctuate here and there very rapidly from 4.2 to, in July it's 4.2, 2018 to January 2019 it's 2.2. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but at the same time we see that there's a steadily growth in GDP here, and then all these other numbers are just talking about how many jobs have been implemented and the trade deficit has increased, just things like that in an economy that you would normally just look at in general. Now looking at this from an economist standpoint, what is Trump's policy trying to do? It's trying to bring back jobs, right? Is this a good idea? Yes, I think it is. I think that Trump's ideas are, trying to bring jobs to America and help American people, which is good. But the way he's doing it as an economist doesn't really make sense in certain areas. So that's the struggle that we're looking at, is because the long-run development in this economy in America is being affected by the government spending and trade tariffs. Typically, everyone is better off with trade. And this is a statement made by Greg Mankiw. And we see that this is true because when everyone trades, everyone benefits. Prices get lowered, economies are spending time on comparative advantage and specializing in certain areas where they can trade with other nations. So, everybody in the global economy, when they trade, is better off because they can receive these benefits from other countries with, say, goods that they can't make in their country that would be better off made in another country. The growth of an economy all depends on GDP and real GDP growth. So we see this through the numbers, as I was talking about here in this graph, and that the GDP growth rate is increasing, and that shows a positive sign. But what Trump is essentially trying to do is create jobs, because I think personally that looking back, we look at the history of America and the recession in 2008, and that was during the Bush administration. During the Bush administration, the recession hit America hard, and unemployment just rose, and a lot of people lost jobs, and things just didn't go well. So what Trump is trying to do is essentially continue to create jobs from that recession that Obama was trying to do, and help these people out recover from this still. One thing we can definitely see is that higher savings can lead to better economic growth. So in terms of thinking like an economist, better savings from individuals can eventually lead to economic growth, because those individuals would be incentivized to spend more money and put money back into the economy. What's the best solution here? All right, personally, this is my opinion, and I think that the solution to this economic problem really can't be defined by one side or the other. Maybe it can be determined by using lower taxes as an incentive for these firms to produce in the U.S., and it generates more jobs for these Americans and help Americans get more jobs, along with encouraging the trade. So, maybe if we didn't put higher tariffs on Chinese imports and encouraged more trade with other countries, and at the same time we worked on getting jobs by lowering the taxes in our own country, maybe that could help. I don't know, but I think by looking at both sides have pros and cons. So essentially, what I'm doing is just saying that let's put some of the pros together from both beliefs on both sides of the left and right. Personally, though, if I have to choose one side, I would agree with the trade argument. That trade is essential for economic growth in America right now, and protecting domestic producers by implementing higher tariffs just in the long run damages your own consumers in your own country. This raises the prices for everyone in the long run, because those tariffs will raise prices on imports bringing in, which in turn will just raise the overall price of that good in your country, because there's less of it. Global economic trading promotes growth, and it stimulates the economy by having these prices lowered. So these are the two reasons why I chose to support the trade argument. And here are my references.